0864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in. 1.4 to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field. Back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Well, it's the start of the Pac-12 men's basketball tournament today, and that's what we're thinking about here on a Wednesday afternoon on Duck Insider. I'm Jordan Brenner, in for Joey Mack. Joey, I'm sure, is getting ready for tomorrow's broadcast. The Ducks going to take on either Washington State or Cal. And by the way, there's only one game going on right now, but we're off to a great start if you're an Oregon fan. Washington looks terrible in the first half against Colorado, which is always a great thing to see. On a more serious note, though, Oregon's going to need an impressive run in Vegas if they want to go dancing into March Madness. Dana Altman met with the media yesterday and previewed the Pac-12 tournament. Yeah, we're doing that now, I thought. There we go.
Well, I'm happy for him. And he was in early and stayed late all season. And, first year that he's been here, that he's really been healthy. And but I thought he played really well and missed a couple games. But for the most part, been there every day and worked his tail off. And I'm glad to see him be rewarded for it.
Generally speaking, guys coming early and staying late is something I think you wanted to see a little more of the last couple of years. How has this group been in that regard?
Individuals have done a good job. We haven't seen the consistency that we have out of some of our other teams. I don't know if guys recognize the importance of it. The confidence that it builds, obviously the skill development, that comes with it. But I think it's more of a confidence thing. Once you know you're prepared and you've been preparing, that's where your confidence grows. I don't think a coach can give a player confidence. That has to be earned. And he knows when he's worked hard. He knows when he's put in the time. And so, again, that preparation is so important, and I think the confidence comes from that.
And Will's battled through a lot this year, and his numbers might not pop like some other guys do, but him getting honorable mention, what he means to you, was it nice to see the coaches acknowledge that with the honorable mention?
Without a doubt, I was hoping he'd be a little higher than that, but he's fought through injuries and hasn't scored in some games because of some of those injuries. But no, he's battled, and anybody who's played, who's gone through some nagging injuries know, basketball season 6 months long, and not being healthy takes away some of the enjoyment.
How has the team done in practice after the Stanford game?
Well, we've just had one. Sunday was our NCAA required day off, and we practiced yesterday. We'll practice today and fly out tonight, get in there, have a workout tomorrow in Vegas, and be ready at 2:30 Thursday. But, they were excited about playing yesterday. They kind of look at this as a new opportunity. We know it's a very difficult road. Washington State's playing really good. them and Cal will play tomorrow. But UCLA, obviously, if we're fortunate enough to beat whoever we play in the quarterfinals, it's just going to be a tough road. We got some really good teams in the league again this year. I think a couple that are underrated as far as national perception is concerned. So, I think it's going to be a great tournament.
How does the prep change, if at all, knowing that you won't know your opponent until, say, 5 o'clock tomorrow?
You get yourself ready, and we've got both teams scouted. Obviously, we've played both of them recently, and so we've got pretty good scouting material on both of them. It's not that much of an adjustment, when you're playing game to game, day to day. You've played the teams twice, and so both of the teams that we only played once, I think, are in the other bracket, right? Anyway, we've played Washington State twice, we played Cal twice. Moving forward, we've played all those teams twice, so we should be able to adjust pretty quickly.
You hear in sports one game at a time a lot, but in the big picture, if you want to get to the tournament, it might take more than one.
Yeah, no, but there is no Friday if you don't play well Thursday. And so you lay it all out there, you'll find the energy to play. Guys, how we get this? No, you got to win Thursday to play Friday. So you expend whatever you got to expend and try to win the game as best you can on Thursday. And then you'll find enough energy to play Friday. And if you're fortunate enough to play Saturday, you'll find enough energy to play there.
And how important is it having such an experienced group like that going to Vegas and kind of just having guys like Will and Quincy and Folly kind of just say to the younger guys, keep yourself grounded because you are surrounded, obviously you're in Vegas, but how important is that experience?
Well, we've got a couple guys that have been there. We don't have a lot of guys who've played in the Pac-12 tournament. Jermaine and, Will was out last year, but he's been there. Keyshawn's been there. Dante's been there. Quincy was there last year. Quincy had a good tournament. So, no, we've got some experience. We've got some guys who haven't been in that atmosphere before, but it's a wonderful facility. And as I mentioned, I think UCLA's a 1 seed in the big tournament, and Arizona will be 2 or right up there, and USC should be in. Arizona State should be in. We should get a look. I think we've got a lot of teams that are, like I said, maybe some undervalued.
In a lot of ways, 2019 feels like forever ago because everything the world's been through since then. But the experience Will got going on a run with that group, can that pay any dividends right now?
Oh, I don't know. Like you said, a long time ago, he was a freshman, but he was a big part of it. I think he was our 6th man. He was our 6th man. He came off the bench and gave us a lot of good minutes. So, it doesn't hurt. If you look at, the last 12, 13 years of the tournament, we've done all right. We've got to do a little better this year because the tournament field's really good. And like I said, UCLA being, I think they're ranked number 2 this week, right? Whatever, they're awfully good, and Arizona's awfully good, USC's awfully good. There's a lot of good teams that, for us to be successful, we're going to have to play our best.
Any injury updates or just Brennan?
No, Luke was able to go through non-contact yesterday, so we're anticipating he'll be ready, and Brennan's out, so we'll be as healthy as we've been all year. And that's encouraging. If we were to make a little run, the depth, I think, is really important. So having everybody available is great.
Yeah, all season's been some guys in, some guys out. You tinkered with your starting lineup mid-season. At this point, do you feel like roles are about as defined as they've been all year?
Well, pretty close. We were getting to a pretty good rhythm, and then Luke got hurt and Brennan got hurt. Brennan was earning some minutes. Luke was hurting some minutes. And so this past weekend when I, thought we would lock everything in, those 2 guys were out. But no, we know that Quincy and Keyshawn are going to come in really quick. And, And Khalil had a good weekend, which was encouraging. He was much more physical than he had been, so that was encouraging. Luke getting back has given us some good minutes defensively. So, and then Ty gave us a big lift against Cal. So, we feel like Ethan, we're applying for a redshirt year, trying to get him. But those 10 guys, and we've always got Gabe and Coop and Brady. But our depth is pretty good, I think.
So it starts, as you heard from Dana Altman, with Washington State and Cal. Worry about UCLA after that. But that's not what we do in the media. So while Dana Altman may not be worried, I'll communicate some breaking news here, and that's that Jalen Clark isn't just out for the Pac-12 tournament. That's UCLA's best defensive player, the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Critical piece in the 2 wins against Oregon this year for the Bruins. He's out all year with a torn Achilles. So a tough bit of news for UCLA and certainly the conference if you want to see the Pac-12 succeed in March Madness. So rooting for him to get better. But Oregon's got business to take care of. By the way, is Washington still losing? Okay. Dogs down at the half. We love to see it. Let's get a break. We'll come back. Rob Moseley joining us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Now's the time to imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like Tundra. Go for a spin, enjoy some off-roading, or build your kids that treehouse you promised them. Hey, they deserve it.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends April 4th.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Now's the time to imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like Tundra. Go for a spin, enjoy some off-roading, or build your kids that treehouse you promised them. Hey, they deserve it.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends April 4th.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you Mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Okay, back here in the Country Financial Studio, Jordan Brenner and Rob Moseley here with you for Duck Insider. Rob, a lot to talk about today. You were in Vegas last week,
yes,
and you're going to be back in Vegas tomorrow. We have to get a health check-in. Mental health, physical health, how are you?
Good, yes. I thought about staying a little longer last week, but didn't, because I felt like I probably could use a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, it's important.
Vegas days, because it is, you get past about 48 hours, it can weigh on you. I certainly have, sometimes you'll hear like, well, I won't go there. But I definitely have like a degenerate in me wanting to get out. So the less I can tempt that guy, the devil on the shoulder, the better. I had a concert ticket to see a band Saturday since, I was hoping we were going to be down there through Sunday. And I'm a NASCAR fan as of the pandemic. and they were in Vegas last week.
Everybody has their things from the pandemic.
So I thought about, even though the women unfortunately had an earlier exit than we hoped, I had to stay through Friday anyway for the Hall of Honor ceremony for Janie Takeda-Reed, which was awesome. And so I thought about just staying through Sunday and seeing a Flaming Lips Saturday night in Vegas, and then going to the race Sunday. And just felt like, for the sake of my liver, my brain, my marriage,
all the above,
all of it, probably better to come home, get a few days.
You know what? You always talk about how you're young at heart, but talk about a mature decision there to go home.
Yeah.
Way to go, my friend.
Yeah, it was tough to swallow in some respects, but probably the right thing to do. And then, the men played along by beating Stanford and clinching a first-round bye, providing an extra couple of days. Because if they were playing today, would have traveled yesterday, but because they're not playing until tomorrow, I can fly in tomorrow morning and cover Acro tonight. Probably the biggest regular season matchup in all of collegiate acrobatics and tumbling.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree with that. And I've done the studies. I've looked at all the meets, and I have to agree with you.
Yeah. So looking forward to being at the arena tonight for Acro.
I want to zoom out and talk a little in Volley Dante. There were moments over the course of his collegiate
Is that zooming
career.
out or zooming in? He's
I
tall,
think it's
so
zooming
you have to zoom out.
I'm zooming out because I want to talk about his whole college career leading to this moment.
Okay.
There were many moments where I'm sure that young man thought he wasn't going to be a first-team All-Pac-12 center.
Yeah.
How remarkable is it that he has gotten to this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that. In some ways, not at all. He was a really highly regarded recruit. We all knew his talent, and it was just a matter of could he realize it. And I think you've heard that from Dana Altman, that they knew that's the guy he could be. But then, like anyone, you get hurdles thrown up in front of you, and it's a matter of how you react to those. And, for some folks, it becomes too much to overcome, and you can't reach your potential. But, even though he had injuries for his first couple of years, he just kept his head down, kept working. I mean, he's a great kid, great attitude. I mean, just really, I hope he wouldn't mind this. I think he's a very lovable kid. And, he's a big, tough young man, too. Yeah, so, let's give him that as well. But just a really lovable kid. And so it's nice to see him. It's nice to see him succeed. It's nice to see his success recognized by the conference coaches with that first-team all-conference honor for sure.
Yeah, player you root for, no doubt.
Yeah.
And if Oregon's going to go on a run in Las Vegas, and Volley Dante is going to be a big part of that run.
No doubt. You want, it used to be you had to have a big man. That's not quite the same anymore. I mean, for me, collegiate basketball, men's and women's success is predicated these days on three-point shooting. But three-point shooting gets a lot easier if you've got a threat in the middle that defenses have to respect as well. If you can't just leave the middle unguarded and go out and close out on shooters, if you've got to pick your poison there, you're going to be in trouble. But ultimately, I think you live and die in collegiate basketball these days with three-point shooting, and so can Will Richardson make a couple threes a game? Quincy Guerrier is a guy who is such a difference maker when he can make a couple threes in a game. Keyshawn, when he gets hot, he's as deadly as anybody. Yeah. And Kuznard, is just steady. I think he's a guy you count on. You figure he's going to hit 2 or 3 a game, but it's those other pieces. If you can get a couple of those other shooters going, then you can really probably make a run. And the threat of Dante in the middle definitely makes it more likely that some other guys on the perimeter are going to have some space to try to get some good looks.
Editor of GoDucks.com, Rob Moseley, joining us here on Duck Insider. By the way, good memories for Quincy Guerrier in Las Vegas. And in addition to making threes, you got to defend the three well. And, well, quite frankly, that's not something Oregon's done a great job of doing this year. 11th in the Pac-12 in three-point field goal defense. Offense is important, but as we've seen from Dana Altman teams in the past, tightening up defensively often leads to those late-season runs.
No doubt. And, I think Coach Altman's tried to make that clear to the team that like I say, three-point shooting can be a difference maker, but that hasn't always been there either. And so if you're going to be inconsistent offensively, the one thing you can try to bring consistently, it's easier said than done, but, defensive effort and intensity is something you can control a lot more than, whether you're going to make a whole bunch of shots every single night. So that can be a difference maker. Some of that's matchups. I mean, the difference between the top two teams in the league is so stark right now. I mean, if you're going against UCLA, yeah, you better guard because they're going to guard. Against Arizona, they don't want to guard. They just want to get up and down, and so you better be able to score. So it's just the difference in styles that they play is wild, and it's so different. And so a week like this where you could potentially face them back to back. I mean, how much of a contrast in styles would that be? It'd be great if it happens. I mean, I think we're all looking at net rankings and bracket projections and all that, and you wonder if you can get to the final. Is that enough? Do you have to win the final? I don't know. It's is an at-large bid even possible? A lot of folks right now want to tell you they know, but they don't. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
And another question for me, how well can UCLA guard without the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year on their squad this week? Jalen Clark rolled out. Obviously, Oregon has to get to that UCLA matchup in the third round of the Pac-12 tournament. There is a chance that an at-large bid isn't possible for this team, in which case the only way to get into the dance is to run the table, which is where I think the comparisons to that 18-19 team come. I want to go back in time because I was just looking at it today and I thought it was remarkable that in 2019 you lose at UCLA and give up 90, and then 5 days later you beat ASU by 28 points and start a 10-game winning streak and ultimately lose to the national champions in the Sweet 16. What the heck happened there? What was the turnaround that season for Dana Altman and the group? It happened over a 5-day stretch, it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, what I remember about that group is it felt like a bunch of disparate parts. I mean, what I remember is it just being a classic illustration of just how tenuous chemistry is and how it can be absent and then suddenly appear. It just felt like a bunch of disparate parts that weren't quite fitting, and then all of a sudden they fit. And sometimes you just need a catalyst, and Francis Okoro was the catalyst in terms of, hey, guys, let's stop worrying about everything else. Let's just buy into what coach wants us to do. Everybody play your role, and let's see what happens. Let's just buy in. Kind of give yourself over to the process. And they did, and we saw the results of that. So, obviously results-wise, you'd love to see history repeat itself. I don't think, I think the depth of talent on this year's team is light years beyond what that year's team had, in terms of experienced talent.
That statement jumps off the page to me, though, because we're talking about a team that lost to the national champions, and you're saying that at least in some way those parts exist this year. If they can put it together, that's a big question.
You and I have talked a lot of times how I'm not a take guy, and so I don't want that to be perceived as a take in any way. I think that's just objectively true. You just look at the guys who are on this team and how much, how many Power 5 guys are on this team in terms of the transfers. Again, the depth of experience and talent on this team just is different than that group had, and so I'm not making any predictions. Like I say, I would love to see this group go on that kind of run. I just think it's a different kind. It wasn't a situation where like guys weren't quite bought in and then they decided to, and then things got rolling. I mean, this has really just been a question of who's available. Injuries obviously have taken an immense toll on this team, and then you had to get guys back, and then coach had to figure out kind of on the fly roles, rotations, minutes. The good news is I think they're in about as good a spot as they've been all year in that regard. So, now we'll see how it plays out.
Rob's built different. Doesn't he look pretty normal having been to Vegas so recently? They're just going back again. That's Rob Moseley, editor of GoDucks.com. More with Rob after this break. We get into more basketball and talk some spring sports. Conference play starting for softball and baseball. That's coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Back here in the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider is brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. Washington basketball is losing. Let's go back to Rob Moseley, the editor of GoDucks.com, part 2 of the interview. For the women, what does the bracket math look like right now? I mean, played some good basketball down the stretch, but maybe just a little bit too late. What does the math look like?
Well, it just depends on who you trust and what metrics you think are the most important. And I don't think any of us know what the selection committee values the most. I mean, we all know what the list of metrics are. So, yeah, you look at win-loss records and or compare Oregon to a bunch of other bubble teams, and it's not as favorable. But, you know, if you're looking at the St. John's and the Purdue's and West Virginia's, at least right now, I think by a lot of metrics, Oregon still stacks up favorably to some of those teams. Now, by the nature of Charlie Cream's prominence as a bracketologist on the women's side, we're all going to kind of look at that as sort of our default, well, that must be what the picture looks like. And he's kind of earned that right. But there's a danger in that, too. I mean, that is really only one voice, and you don't know if the selection committee sees things the same he does. Again, when I look at, when I compare resumes, and I'm far from an objective observer, I look at Oregon against West Virginia or St. John's or Marquette or Purdue and say, yeah, the Ducks' body of work looks like it could be more impressive to me. Maybe there's some splitting hairs there. But the problem right now is some of those teams still have games to play. And, if they enhance their resumes over the course of this next week, the picture could change. So, kind of the Ducks are where they are, and, they made their bed. Now they got to sleep in it. But you can only sort of, judge the circumstances based on where you're at in the moment. And at the moment, you're on the bubble, so you hope things work out and you get in.
How impressed were you with Tahina Paopau's late season turnaround? 28 points, 7 threes in a loss against Stanford, but boy, she turned around a season where she was struggling late.
Yeah, I was just really happy for her because you knew that's the kind of player she is, and she was dealing with a lot of stuff midseason, and Kelly Graves has kind of referred specifically in some cases, obliquely in some other cases, to kind of just how many challenges she was trying to fight through, and obviously that affected her play. And so it's sort of like Dante, where you knew that's who they were, you knew they had that in them, but could they push through some difficult circumstances and come out the other side and be able to realize that potential again? And so in both cases they did, and so that's just really fulfilling. And it's one of the fun things, the rewarding things about college athletics is sometimes it really sucks to see young people have to deal with stuff that you feel like, hey, that's a grown-up thing to deal with. You shouldn't be having to deal with this at your age. I mean, I think we all know how different stages of your life you're better or worse equipped to deal with certain things. But to see cases like that where they do push through and they are rewarded and do experience some success is real fulfilling. So just happy for her. Yeah, I mean, Tahina is one of my favorite people in the world, and she deserves good things because she's a great kid. She's a great leader for that program. She cares a lot about Oregon women's basketball and kind of carrying on its recent history of success. And unfortunately, due to a lot of different factors, kind of the momentum of the Sabrina Ionescu era kind of got upset. But she doesn't want to see that lost completely, and is doing her darndest to try to sustain a pretty high level of play.
Rob Moseley, editor of GoDucks.com, joining us. Conference play on the horizon for softball and baseball. And for softball, heading up to Seattle for one of the defining series of the season. It starts right now for Coach Lombardi's squad. Optimism for that program, what have you noticed from afar?
Well, I think if Stevie Hansen's just going to never lose again, you're in a pretty good spot. Her
undefeated in her decisions, I think, this year. Is that the stat?
Yeah, did she not take a loss the first weekend?
I think she's 11-0. That's tied for the NCAA lead in wins.
Yes, just so she got hit a little bit the first weekend, and then just was like, enough of that. So that's been pretty cool to see. Obviously, it goes to a whole different level now that you're in conference play. She's obviously had some good performances against some really good teams, but now it's just appearance after appearance after appearance. You're going against elite lineups, and but yeah, if she can keep that rolling, that's a heck of a foundation. And I think we're seeing the Tara McGowans, the Allie Bunkers, and the rest start to fulfill that promise that we knew they had offensively. So and it's kind of the same thing. I think we've talked about this, but it's kind of the same thing on the side with baseball. It's like we're starting to see that offensive potential that we thought the baseball team was going to have, and then the young pitchers are just showing a lot of moxie. And again, for them as well. I mean, it's the deeper you get in the season, the tougher it is to sustain that and maintain that consistency. But I think they're both in pretty good places right now.
Are you as enamored with Riku Nishida's style of play as I am and many other Oregon fans are right now?
Yeah, I think as anyone is. I mean, if you're not paying attention to him and rooting for him and entertained by him, then check your pulse. Yeah, I think he's definitely worth the price of admission. Hitting a homer with a wood bat is there's things in sports you say you don't see that all the time, but that's really something you don't see all the time in college baseball. So yeah, he's unique.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So baseball welcoming in UCLA, a challenging test for them. That's a consensus top 25 team there and a great pitching staff. Here's to hoping it's hailing, it's raining, it's windy. Let's get these SoCal kids uncomfortable up at PK Park, huh?
I don't know if our guys would agree with you on that, but yeah, I mean, I think what you hope is, you play anybody straight up, you feel pretty good about it. Their results obviously have been a little up and down week to week, but yeah, just encouraged about the progress they made this last week and excited to see where they go.
No doubt, and I'm excited to see where the freshman pitching can go. A real challenge for a young group of promising arms. Before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about Morgan McCarthy for lacrosse, who's kind of just turning into a superstar right in front of our eyes right now.
Yeah, I think leads the conference in goals, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah, and I'm not anybody's idea of a lacrosse expert, but
don't cut yourself short.
I always felt like, watching them the last couple of years, she was just one of those kids who was maybe more of a role player when she was younger, but kind of always found a way to get herself in the mix, and you always noticed her, at least once or twice, whenever I'd be out there, as a name that just sort of kept coming up. And then now, opportunities present themselves to play a bigger role, and she sure seems to be taking advantage of it. I mean, that's a program that, you talk about moxie and grit and heart, that they've shown a lot of it, and, they're fun to watch. I think there's a lot of positive energy around them right now. I mean, that league's tough, so you don't want to get ahead of yourself there. But I think if you're Joe sports fan or Jill sports fan, and you're not very familiar with a sport, whatever it is, offense is fun to watch, right? And Morgan, led by Morgan McCarthy, the lacrosse program is scoring some goals, and that's fun to watch. So I think they're worth coming out and checking out if you're not too familiar with the sport or the program.
Yeah, McCarthy, second team All Pac-12 last year, and it seems like she's a universe better this year. That's the type of start she's off to. Editor of GoDucks.com, Rob Moseley. Rob, thanks for your time, and don't go too crazy the next few days in Vegas, huh?
No, hopefully it's a long stay, and I'm a grown-up about it.
Okay.
No promises, though.
Get a break here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Now's the time to imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like Tundra. Go for a spin, enjoy some off-roading, or build your kids that treehouse you promised them. Hey, they deserve it.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends April 4th.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Now's the time to imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like Tundra. Go for a spin, enjoy some off-roading, or build your kids that treehouse you promised them. Hey, they deserve it.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary. Event ends April 4th.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Chris Jakimick, I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider. Jordan Brenner inside the Country Financial Studio. So Jace Stoffel last weekend started the Thursday game. So pretty much a Friday night starter because the series started on Thursday. He was on a pitch count, was only supposed to throw 60 pitches. And boy, he was efficient with those 60 pitches because he got through 5 innings, only gave up 2 hits and 1 run against a San Diego order that had been red hot before they saw Jace Stoffel. The Roseburg native met with the media this week. His pitch count up to 80 pitches now, and the righty's getting ready for UCLA on Friday.
How do you think you performed this past weekend? It's coming from your first start of the season into the second one. Just where do you feel like you improved upon?
Being on a pitch count like I have been, getting more pitches this last weekend, being able to go longer in the game, I thought I pitched well. Like I always say, we have a fantastic defense behind me, so it's really easy to, if you just throw strikes, they're going to make plays for you. So it makes it easy to pitch better every weekend.
What was your injury? If you don't mind sharing your injury.
Yeah, it was just my back. I was squatting, and I just tweaked my back. So since it was like preseason stuff, they wanted to give me some rest, so they didn't work me back too fast.
Waz hasn't announced the rotation yet, but I'm sure that you're pitching this weekend. Probably starting. Just are you still on a pitch limit at this point, or is it just like an overall early season pitch limit?
I honestly don't know the rotation yet. They haven't said anything. They'll probably release it soon, like they usually do. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, I don't know if I have a pitch count yet. That's something I'll have to discuss with Angier and Waz about. So at this point, I don't know anything about that stuff yet.
I guess you mentioned Jake, but what's your overall relationship with Jake, and just how has that grown in the last 2 years that you've been here?
I like Angier a lot. He's really good at building relationships with the pitchers. It's been really good to get to know him over the last 2 years. He cares about us a lot. So it's not just a job for him. It's building that relationships with us, and so I really like him a lot as a coach and a person.
Have you dived into what UCLA does on the offensive side of the ball?
Not yet. No, we're gonna have that meeting later this week, right before the series starts.
I guess not like a full dive in, but have you seen their offense isn't spectacular, but they've had a 23-run game against Omaha. Their only 2 losses of the year have come to Vanderbilt. Just, I guess, what have you seen just on surface level from UCLA and how they attack?
They're a Pac-12 school, so everyone's gonna be good. Even the worst record in the Pac-12 is still a good school. You know what I mean? So, just gotta attack them with strikes. I just gotta throw my pitches for strikes and execute my pitches, and they're a good school, so I can't count them out. So,
there's been a situation, it's a highlight so far this season. If you're going to name one situation you're in that you performed well in a game, in a situation against a batter, that's your highlight so far.
My highlight so far. Well, I've only had 2 starts.
All right.
I don't really know one yet. I haven't got to pitch a whole lot this year yet. So,
I was going to ask about Pac-12 play. How much does it help for you having experience from last season coming in, and how much are you trying to relay those experiences to the younger guys on the staff?
Experience, I think, in my opinion, is one of the most important things you can have. I think that's why you see people jump in how well they play from year to year. How just the comfortability that comes with experience it translates to confidence, and the confidence and the experience I have this year is completely different from last year. Just being in it, knowing the competition, knowing what I need out of myself, and I think that helps a lot with the younger guys. They come to me for help, for mechanic stuff, for the experience of what to do in certain situations and recovery, and so I think it goes a long ways, and it just helps in every area of baseball.
How impressed are you by the performance of these true freshmen on the mound, especially the starters who, again, allow 2 earned runs all weekend to San Diego, who came in as a really good hitting team?
Yeah, no, I'm very impressed. They're all very mature on the mound for their age. They throw a lot of strikes, and honestly, if you throw a lot of strikes, the stats are going to say that, the odds are in your favor. Throw a lot of strikes, make them put the ball in play. Free passes like walks hurt you, and they do a very good job at a very young age with doing that. So,
you guys have a pool table down in the clubhouse, right? Yeah. Who's the best pool player? Or I guess who will say they're the best pool player?
Logan Olson's pretty good. Freshman, he's pretty good. I know Schmitty plays a lot. He plays a lot. He's on there almost every time I look over there. So I don't know. I don't watch super closely, but those guys are pretty good that I've seen.
Jay Stillful meeting with the media, a player who figures to be a big part of Oregon's weekend rotation with the UCLA Bruins coming to town. Now, Logan Mercado may not start, but he's going to be heard from against the Bruins too. Valuable to have a guy who can start games or come out of the bullpen and give you 4 or 5 innings. In some ways, that's more valuable because you're pitching in the highest leverage situations of a game late in a game. So Logan Mercado meeting with the media yesterday and previewing the first Pac-12 series of the year for Oregon baseball.
Who's the best pool player on the team?
Ooh. You know, I beat him one time, but I've only played him one time. I'm gonna have to say Mac Moyer on that one. He's pretty precise. He's pretty surgical with the cue, and it's pretty impressive to see. But I got one win over him, and I'm never gonna play him against because I know how good he is.
Finishing 1-0.
Yeah.
I asked Jace how important it is to have experience going into Pac-12 play, or at least have experience in Pac-12 play as you go into it. Just how much does that help you, and how much are you trying to translate those experiences to the younger guys on the staff?
Yeah, you know, it's definitely an advantage to have the experience in Pac play that a lot of us do. You know, we try to pass that knowledge the best that we can on to the young guys who haven't experienced it yet. But, you know, Pac play isn't really that different from, you know, non-conference play. You know, it's baseball. You know, the game's going to throw different challenges at you every time. And so I think our young guys on the staff, you know, they've experienced college baseball now for a few weeks. They're getting in the habit of doing their routines and stuff. And I think if we can stay with that as a staff, we'll be in a good place this season.
Have you dived into what UCLA does on offense this year?
Not yet. Haven't talked about it yet. I mean, the focus going into this week is just prepare well. Just have a focus in practice and on recovery as well, and just getting your body and mind prepared for the weekend.
What do you feel like overall? How do you feel like you did this past weekend? And you only threw once, but just going back, reviewing film, just how did you think you did overall?
I think I did pretty well overall. I think there's definitely a lot of stuff to be learned. You know, I think game management was, you know, I was doing pretty good on that, which, you know, that's what I take pride in for myself. But, you know, there's always stuff to be learned. There's always stuff you can better. That's really how I took that outing last time. You know, we ended up getting the dub, and, you know, as a staff, we pitched not even at our best, and we still only gave up 6 runs on the weekend. So that just tells you how good as a staff that we can be.
Yeah, I asked that kind of similar to Jace, just your overall, like how impressed you are with the freshmen in the bullpen and on the starting staff, and how they've been able to, you know, adjust to college baseball and perform well.
Yeah, I've been impressed, especially with Leo and Jackson Pace. You know, they've taken a big step, and, you know, had to step into a starting role. Especially, that's a big role to step into, especially as a freshman. You know, coming in, never played a college baseball game before, and now you're named, you know, one of the starters. It's definitely impressive to see them have as much success as they've had so far. And I think if they can just keep doing their routines and, you know, prepare well as they have, you know, these past few weeks, I think they'll continue to have success as they have been.
Austin Anderson's been really good to start the season out of the pen. Just what have you seen from him, and what makes him so effective?
I think he's just funky. He's unorthodox. You know, his motion, I think, messes a lot of people up. You know, I think people don't expect him to land the pitches that he does. So I think that throws hitters off a little bit. I think to have that diversity mechanically in our staff is really helpful. You know, and he's a good guy, prepares well, and throws the ball really well. He's shown that he's reliable too, and, you know, he's one of those go-to guys to have on the staff. That's really valuable.
After seeing the offense struggle against Santa Barbara, how nice was it to see them, you know, kind of come to life against San Diego, especially the 13-run game?
It's definitely a breath of fresh air, for sure. You know, seeing our offense, you know, in the fall and early winter just absolutely rake, you know, and just to see them absolutely come alive. You know, some guys stepping into roles like Sabine at third base. You know, he's huge for us this past weekend. You know, just seeing, I just use him as an example, but seeing those guys step up and really really just explode offensively this weekend, it's definitely awesome to see. It makes pitching a lot easier, I'll tell you that. So
Logan Mercado's right. Let's keep that offense going. It was a breath of fresh air, and a big part of that offensive explosion, Tanner Smith. You did it first, second, third, fourth. Doesn't really matter when you have a hitter of Tanner Smith's caliber. His thoughts on the upcoming series. After this break, you're listening to the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider. Jordan Brenner inside the Country Financial Studio. I'm here today. We're off tomorrow, and I'll probably be back here on Friday too for that show as well. Friday's show, we'll look ahead to Oregon baseball series against UCLA with thoughts from the head coach of the Ducks, Mark Wasikowski. Today, though, I want to hit Tanner Smith, who's starting to get a feel for his swing and for his approach at the plate at this point in the season. 5 hits over 4 games against the Toreros. Here's Oregon's left fielder, Tanner Smith.
You guys are headed into Pac-12 play now. Just how much help does it have for you to have the experience of playing in the Pac-12 and UCLA, and just how much are you trying to give that off to the younger guys who haven't done that?
Yeah, I think experience is a big thing when it comes down to Pac-12 play. At the same time, also, it seems like every year there's something new that comes up that you've never seen before, like Stanford, going 1-5 to start last year, and then coming away with winning the Pac-12 title. So it's going to be new and for everybody, but I'm excited and I think the team's ready to roll.
What have you seen from UCLA's staff? I mean, I asked Gavin the same. It doesn't seem like you guys have all met up and discussed it with Martyr yet, but just in general.
Yeah, every year they come out with good arms on the mound, and I think this year they have some pretty talented arms as well. And got to give credit to Coach Savage and his pitch calling with those arms, and they know what they're doing, and so our coaches are doing the best job to prepare us for that and get us ready to rock.
I think I asked you something similar after the game, but how nice was it to see the offense come around in the final 2 games of the series?
It was awesome. Just kind of seeing, finally things starting to click together and an offense working as a unit and, guys in the lineup really kind of putting their plans together based off one another is awesome. And, I'm excited to see what the future holds for this one.
With UCLA and their staff, they've got, I think, 125 Ks and 97 innings this year. Waz has preached about cutting down on the big swings and trying to go base to base. Just how important that message even for this series, even more now?
Yeah. The whole philosophy of team baseball is, really been something we're trying to adapt and hitting together as a team to get those starting pitchers out, get the bullpen, cooking early into the weekend. That's going to be a big thing for us. And, I think it's something we're really going to have to put together this weekend.
Base-to-base philosophy, is that kind of weird hearing that coming out of Waz's mouth? Because he's a guy who likes to, gap to gap, hit the balls over the wall.
Yeah, no, it is a little bit different. You're right. And, he does like the long balls. But I think really with that base-to-base mentality, it's maybe not so much result-based, just mentality. And the long balls just show up naturally with that. With, all the hours we put in with Daryl in the weight room and all the time we spent with Marta with swing mechanics, I think, keeping everything that simple is going to result probably to some more home runs.
The lefties in the lineup, and including you, have really done a lot of damage to left field, including your home run. Yeah. I think Diodati nearly put one out to left as well. Was that a fresh idea going into this series past series against San Diego, where it's like we'd stay through the ball, try to take it the other way?
No, it was. A lot of guys are just trying to, see the ball as deep as they can, and when you have arms that are, throwing hard and mixing in different pitches, the best way to do that is to be able to just see the ball and use the other side of the field. And I think the left-handers in particular have done a really good job with that.
What did you see from Walsh this past series? Bat kind of came alive, like I said, hitting balls out to left. Just what did you see from him?
It was awesome to watch him play this weekend. It looked like the dub we saw last year, and just kind of that confidence and that just kind of just chip on the shoulder mentality that he has, I think, was in full effect. And I think, he's going to grasp onto that, and he's got a bright couple weekends ahead.
Some wise words there from Tanner Smith. He talks about how the home runs come naturally when your approach is to the opposite field and you're not trying to hit it out of the ballpark. Well, he's absolutely right, because his first home run of the season, which came against San Diego, literally went to the opposite field on a line drive. That's the weight room taking over for Tanner Smith. And I liked his thoughts on Jacob Walsh, too, because that is the Jacob Walsh we saw from last year. And hopefully Oregon's sophomore first baseman can continue to get hot at the plate and deliver some big swings for this team. So Oregon men's basketball in action tomorrow. Here is the bracket if you're watching with us live. It'll be a 2:30 p.m. tip between either Washington State and Cal. That game is going to take place soon after the completion of the one that's going on now. Washington is losing against Colorado. Let's hope for that to continue. Then the Cougars and Cal for the right to play Oregon at 2:30 tomorrow. Joey Mack with your pregame coverage at 2 p.m. Great show today. Thank you to Ethan. Thanks to Scott. Mitchell Lee back into the studio. We're off tomorrow. Joey's live at 2. And we're back on Friday to preview a weekend full of Oregon athletics. Go Ducks, everybody.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopRap